for this for a long time. We bring in Marc Short, former chief of staff to then Vice President Mike Pence. So this is, even when you're in the first Trump administration, a big priority, right? What would you say about this commitment? I know they still got to meet it, by the way.
Look, I think it's a huge win today.
Yeah.
As you said, there's a lot of devil in the details down the road, but for right now, at least I'm verbally committing to 5% of GDP going for defense spending is what the president's been after for a long time, wanting to see Europe share more of the cost burden of protecting the region. There's a lot that NATO does otherwise, but still, this has been a priority for the Trump administration.
This is unique, and even people I think who are not huge fans of the president probably would concede the way that he's handled this. He walked in there, basically saying, "Hey, listen, guys, so who's paying around here?" And then that was a way that maybe these world leaders and governments hadn't been spoken to before. But if this is true, it worked.
I think that's right, Tom. I mean, I think that obviously, except for Spain, and most have gone along with it today. I'm not sure when we say that there's going to be tariffs on Spain. Again, Americans the ones that pay the tariff, so I'm not sure that's the way to get the 5% out of Spain. But largely, this is a big win for the Trump administration.
Okay, on Iran. Now, we've heard there's been a lot, even said today about this. Big picture, what would you say about the strikes on Iran? I'm going to go to a new statement in from the CIA in just a moment because the intelligence now is being debated about how bad it was. Is this a win no matter what for Trump, or does it matter how far the Iranians really have been set back?
I think it's a win because regardless, the Iranians now know America can do this.
Right.
And so they know that we could repeat it. And I think it's a big win for President Trump. I think it was the right decision. I think the difference between the first Trump administration and the second Trump administration is there are obviously a lot more voices this time that were opposed to any interaction. In the first administration with the maximum pressure campaign, the strikes took out General Soleimani, there was pretty much unity between Secretary of State, NSC, the Vice President, and the President. It seems like there's a lot more division on what that foreign policy should be now. But I think the President made the right decision.
Let me put up that CIA statement. We've seen statements from the President, from the Secretary of Defense and State today. CIA can confirm that a body of credible intelligence indicates Iran's nuclear program has been severely damaged by the recent targeted strikes. This includes new intelligence from a historically reliable and accurate source method that several key Iranian nuclear facilities were destroyed and would have to be rebuilt over the course of years. And they go on to say CIA continues to collect additional reliably sourced info to keep appropriate decision makers and oversight bodies fully informed. When possible, will also provide updates and information to the American public, given the national importance of this matter, in every attempt to provide transparency. Now, we read that whole statement, and while I'm reading it, it strikes me that's quite a statement from the CIA, a lengthy statement from the CIA.
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious the president asked the CIA to put that out.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's great. We have intelligence communities playing these PR games. I think the reality is that you also saw today the president announce that, we don't necessarily need to have nuclear a concession as part of the conversations next week. I really think what that is like, if he were to say that, then it would be undermining the notion that we obliterated their nuclear capabilities. So he doesn't want to say that because they want to undermine the narrative right now that we were successful in the strikes. I think the strikes were successful regardless. The strikes is a matter of degrees, how much they decimated the programs. But again, it showed Iran that we can do that, and we can do it, in the dark of night, and can do it with no injuries to American soldiers or troops. That's pretty impressive. So I think at this point, like a lot of this PR game, you should just accept victory and let's take on the next step.
But now they're going to talk, he said, as soon as next week, right?
Yeah.
So from your point of view, and this kind of plays into what you were talking about earlier, he may be pushed in some other directions by other members of the administration. What's the risk for President Trump? He's gotten to this point. You think it's been a success. What's the risk now?
Well, I think the risk is that for 46 years, ever since the revolution in Iran, they have murdered their own citizens, they've murdered Westerners, and they have consistently lied. So they want a ceasefire. The ceasefire forces Israel to back off on the campaign that they've had. And as opposed to pushing the campaign forward and having some sort of surrender, this gives them time to sort of regroup. And they're not going to keep their word in any sort of deal. And so you're basically somewhere down the road going to see Iran looking to strike and kill innocent Westerners again across the Middle East.
So you would have encouraged the president to keep going?
Well, I don't think I would have encouraged him to tell Israel to stop. I mean, I think the president did what he was going to do from America's perspective, eliminate the nuclear program. But, I think that right now the ceasefire basically works to Iran's benefit and to Israel's detriment.
Marc Short, good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.